There are two words that are so important in the journey of recovery that a lot of people don't realize are so important, and they are peer support. Would you agree, Nicole?
Yes.
Yes, I would too. And our guest today obviously agrees because he's responsible for getting a lot of people certified to be peer support specialists. Welcome to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I'm Randall Carlisle. My co-host is Nicole Slack, and our guest is Brian Nielsen. And I have written down here that you are the CEO and founder of the Utah Association of Peer Support Specialists. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, it is.
I got the right information then. Before we go any farther, I want you to look to your left, Nicole, and look at that. Okay. That's
nice.
That's for the second year in a row.
Oh my
City
goodness.
Weekly, and I have one of them here. City Weekly has voted us the best wellness podcast. So it's quite an honor.
Very cool.
So we thank you, City Weekly. And for those of you watching in other areas, City Weekly is like an alternative newspaper here in Utah. And it's different than the regular, like here we have some viewers and listeners in Canada. It'd be like the Toronto Star Telegram or something. It's not like that. It's one of the newspapers that you can pick up on a street corner that advertises bars and clubs and stuff like that. And they have a yearly competition. And it's all because of you, Nicole, why they selected it.
I'm so sure.
So, Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
Why is peer support so important to the journey of recovery? We have people all the time that, like parents or family members, say, now, wait a minute, my kid who was a heroin addict and is trying to recover from that, and the people who he's working with are also recovering heroin addicts. So that doesn't make any sense to me. That's what the parents say. Why is that important to have a peer support specialist?
Well, as addicts, heroin addicts, or any kind of addicts, right, we got to build a belief system within ourselves to kind of function and protect ourselves as we're, working through that dysfunctional part of our life. And another addict who's in recovery can relate to that. And then what that does is it creates a bond between the people trying to recover and the system that's fought against them for so long. And so peer support becomes vital in that area. Not necessarily to do anything but help them trust the system, help them feel valued, and help their thoughts and their challenges feel like they got some value as they're progressing through.
And it's part of, we are a modified therapeutic community, and part of the whole idea behind a therapeutic community is that you have people who are in recovery working with people who are working on recovery.
Yeah.
And it works, right?
It works really well. It's changing the whole state. It's changing across the nation and actually around the globe. It just gives that one more extra layer to feeling like I'm worth it. I can actually do this, because if somebody's seen me progressing after I've been so many years in jails and prisons, and they see me sitting there, doing my thing, then they say, well, if he can, then I for sure can, right?
Exactly. And Nicole, what did it mean to you when I think you told me a while ago that when you admitted to Odyssey House, you weren't even aware what it was?
No, I was sent from a behavioral health unit, and they're like, just go to Odyssey House for a few weeks and get some therapy and then go home. And a few weeks in, I'm like, I'm in rehab. Oh my gosh.
and then when you found out that some of the staff were peer support people, what were your first thoughts? Did you have a negative or a positive opinion on that?
Negative.
It's what the hell are they doing talking to me?
Oh, yeah. And now I totally view it differently. Like, they can understand me sometimes better than people that haven't been in addiction. So, yeah, my first viewpoint, though, was like, and you were an addict? Like, oh, okay.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, and I'm like, is this safe? Like,
You're just one of them.
Yeah.
I got that a lot.
Yeah.
And we should point out, it's not like the people at any treatment center like Odyssey House go out on the street and find a heroin addict and say, "Hey, do you want to work for us?"
Yeah.
You know, these people have to be trained, and that's what you focus on. There is a process to go through to get that kind of training, correct?
Yes. After you get a year in recovery, either from mental health or substance use disorders or both, I have both. Then you can apply through the state of Utah to become a certified peer specialist through the state. Once you get accepted into that, then they'll send you to a trainer like me, and you go through a 40-hour process learning all kinds of different things. Learn how to share your story, learn how to connect, learn how to be ethical and professional in everything you do. And there's in our curriculum, there's 28 different sections. So it's pretty in-depth and really heavy-duty training to get through in a week.
Why do people want to become peer support specialists?
I think everybody, at least for me in my years through the prison system and everything, I wanted to feel like I was giving back. I wanted to feel like I was helping because I've been destructive for so long. And so as people are getting into recovery, they're the same. They want to give back. They want to help. They want to help people that have felt the pains they've been going through, know that they're going to be okay and progress forward. And so they're attracted to it in that sense.
How many, and I saw you, did I see correctly that you're actually doing this in the prison too?
Yes, I am. We've done one for a small one for some prison staff. And then we went inside and did one for a bunch of the men inmates, the Bear 2 program. It's called the Solid program. And then in July, I'll be going back in again to do the women's section and get them trained up and build a program in there. So we're in the beginning stages of building a whole peer support program in the prison.
Now, once somebody's certified as a peer support specialist, they can find jobs at places like Odyssey or First Step or any treatment center, correct?
Yeah, almost every. It's been a ride. In the beginning, there was no jobs, right? And then I got trained. There was a whole bunch of peers and no jobs. But through we've been doing practicums through the whole time through, getting people practicing their skills, doing internships at different recovery agencies around the state. And so now I don't know too many that don't offer peer support. So both behavioral health and substance use.
And Lord knows there's plenty of treatment centers that are looking for people, correct?
Yeah, there is. We still can't keep enough people trained sometimes.
How many people do you have any numbers on how many people you've helped with getting certified?
I know it's over 4,000.
Wow.
But I've been doing it since 2012, so
And we're first talking to you about it now. We're behind the eight ball here. What you just inferred that I know nothing about your background. What you said you've been through prison, you've done the destructive thing. Can you sort of tell us about that?
Yeah, I started way young. I was addicted in elementary school and juvenile prison before I got out of junior high school. And then
You were addicted in grade school?
Yeah.
To what?
Drugs, alcohol. I was even doing some acid and mushrooms and stuff in
grade school?
6th grade, yeah.
Jeez.
I started in 5th and 4th grade smoking with the weeds and stuff. But needless to say, that led me to a big, long career in prison, coming in and out for 20 years. I was supposed to spend 2 years in the Utah State Hospital for schizophrenia in 2004. So it's been a ride.
Boy, that's quite a ride. And so how long have you been sober?
14, almost 15 years.
Yay! Congratulations. Everybody, I always ask this, and I'm always curious what the answer is. What finally persuaded you to stick with sobriety and recovery?
Well, that story is a little bit dark, but I was on
You don't
my,
have to share if you don't want to.
oh, I'm more than happy to. I just did it at a gala last night too for Valley Behavioral Health.
Oh, okay.
I've been in my prison 2/3 of my life, right? From 13 to 45, I'd been in and out of prisons, jails, hospitals. And in 2009, I was on my way back to prison again. And it's just done being that Brian, right? And so I bailed out of jail to commit suicide. And the powers that be, I had a lot of things in place so nothing could happen. And somehow my brother found out and had some friends of his bounce me back in jail. And I was mad. I was so mad. I was trying to figure out how I can commit suicide in jail because that's not a sure shot. You know what I mean? And Valley Behavioral Health walked in. And they said, "Are you done?" And I said, "I'm done." And they said, "We got this program." I said, "What in the heck? Are you guys unicorns?" And so they brought me into treatment. And I knew that was my only shot. And so their story was, because I was supposed to go to prison on Monday, their story was they was just going to tell the judge to let me out. That didn't happen. It took like 4 months of fighting with the courts to get me into their program, but they did. And in that time, I spent a lot of time studying what a life could look like outside of a, schizophrenic addiction world. And so, yeah, I had a lot of time blowing up the kite system and digging into things. But there wasn't any peer support back then. So I went through treatment. A couple of years into treatment is when peer support first started coming to Utah. And they said, "Do you want to be a peer supporter?" I said, "Sure. I guess show everybody how to recover now. I know what I'm doing. You guys look at me." That's not what it was. It's about, letting people find their journeys and find themselves. And it's kind of the same thing that I ended up doing. So it changed my life, and I've been doing it ever since.
And the question was, are you ready?
I'm more than ready.
And look, I guess the thing that stumps a lot of people, because I work with a family support group and they have adult kids who are active in addiction still, and they want to know if there's any magic little thing that exists to get somebody to say, "I'm ready."
Yeah.
And there isn't anything.
There's really not. It's about when that person's kind of had enough, right? And when they see that the destructive force is too much for them to bear anymore, I think. Because when you get a lot of people out there. I just was driving down State Street yesterday, and you get all them people at the bar, and they're just having a drink, and they're going back to work, and they got the loud music. They're having a good time, right?
Right.
And so if somebody feels that they're just having a good time and they're not hurting anybody, who's to say they've got to change, right? Even if they're using heroin or anything else, it's not really my choice. And so it's got to be their choice. And that was the beauty about the people that come and talk to me. They ask me specifically, "Are you done?" I said, "Yeah, I'm definitely done."
Are you done? What did you? Oh, yours is a little different because you attempted suicide, mm-hmm. right? And which put you in a mental health facility at first, right? So, at what point did you say you were done? Your issue was alcohol, so is mine. At what point did you say you were done?
I was in groups. It happened over like the course of a week or two in groups where I was realizing, like, because I didn't consider myself an alcoholic. So when I was there and I was like, I'm in rehab, like I drink too much, but like not like rehab drink too much. And
like a half gallon a day of vodka isn't too much.
It was
right?
fine. I was doing great at destroying my life. Yeah. And like just over like the course of a week or two, just doing some therapy and then just realizing like, oh, like I'm hurting people and maybe I should just try it this way and see if I do better. And maybe if I stop drinking, I'll stop wanting to die all the time. And so, yeah, it was just slow. Mine was no like aha moment of I'm done now. And
I don't think anybody has a real aha moment. I think it's just years and years of being worn down. Mine was, I think, after going through 4 marriages and blaming them and having a lot of chaos and drama in my life, I just got tired of it being that way. And I never hit like what you call rock bottom, where I didn't have a job and I lost a car and lost the house, and that I didn't have that. But it's just I got tired of dealing with stuff. And I remember going to like 12-step meetings or the IOP program I went to, and everybody saying that when you get sober, a lot of that stuff seems to go away, which is amazing because you don't think you're creating it in the first place.
Yeah.
I'm getting drunk because I feel like getting drunk. I'm not hurting you, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm doing it alone in my apartment. I'm staying away from you. Like, why am I affecting you?
Right.
And all these problems are your fault, by the way.
Every time I got divorced, I would tell my friends, I said, it's her fault.
Crazy.
And I used bad names. I said, she's awful. And now that I've been clean for, 12, going on 12 years, I look back and I realize that it was me. It wasn't them.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for them that they had to deal with my, being drunk all the time. So, because you're not present. And it wasn't that I was abusive. It's just I wasn't present. It was like, I get home from work, I'm going to get drunk.
Yeah.
It's the weekend. It's time to drink.
I get to do it for 2 days now and not have to limit myself too much.
And I remember every time a wife at the time would want to say, we need to talk about our relationship. I'd say, good, let's go to a restaurant and we'll talk about it. And I'd sit there and drink while they're talking about it. It was not very effective. So this program seems to be growing, correct?
Yeah, it's growing really heavy now. We've even taken it as far as, remember I told you about the internships? We've been doing them for quite a few years, but now we got an apprenticeship program going now to where people come and become advanced peer sports specialists. It comes with advanced certificates and journeyman peer sports specialists, I guess it would be called.
So advanced, does that, would you be more in demand then in terms of getting a job, say, at a treatment center?
Yeah, you'd be more in demand. Your pay would be higher. You'd be the one supervising other new peer sports, things like that.
Cool. What do you learn and you alluded to it, about how, what are the things you learn? In other words, as a peer support person, I presume you don't sit down with somebody who's working on recovery saying, I did this amount of cocaine every day, or that kind of stuff, and I got busted for this, and boy, you should have heard the time that this happened. You don't do that, right?
No, hopefully peers don't do that. Hopefully not. What we do is we try to teach people to first off is listen effectively, right? We need to figure out what our peers' beliefs, goals, and barriers are, like their self-beliefs, like what's their thoughts about the situation, right? And what's their goals and what's stopping them from reaching that kind of stuff. We teach them how to, catch their negative self-talk. We teach them how to face their fears. We got a whole section on how to tell your story and how to not use the illness story like you're talking about.
Right.
But just use little teeny bits and pieces to just to connect, because most of my story doesn't matter. If I'm like peer sporting with you, all I need you to know is that I felt that pain. And so sometimes just I get it. Been there is enough, right? I don't want to go into all the war stories.
Right.
And then we go into, we got all kinds of different ones, how to handle conflict with integrity, because moving into a new system, sometimes you run into people that don't understand what peer sport is, and they want to be the boss, and they are the boss, right? So how do you handle that with integrity and still get your peers' voice met, and still be advocating for your peers? Things like that. It's very intensive. By the end of the week, everybody's brains are marshmallow because they're...
How bad? Do people fail the course? Or?
No, I've had 2 people fail. One of them didn't speak English, and she had an interpreter that couldn't read English. And the other one, I was trying to be funny. I was you know, you got an hour to do the test, and I got bored, and I said, oh, time's up, and she had a ballistic. She still had a half an hour, right? And she had test anxiety. I learned real quick I can't be doing that kind of stuff. But we just retested her, right? And she passed. They don't fail often, but I am when I do my trainings and my trainers, I make sure we cover everything intently. And then when we take a break and we come back, I cover everything that we've already went over again so that they know the process. Because to me, the fidelity of peer support is the most important thing there is.
Sure.
Especially when it comes to people having a voice and choice. And we cover a lot of trauma-informed things because trauma, especially in our population, trauma is very prevalent, right? And so it's not about assuming everybody has some traumas. It's about trying to figure out what happened so I can make them feel safe again, so they can trust the system, trust me, trust the system. I can empower them to want to go forward, make them feel like they have a choice.
How does somebody, we have like 8 minutes left, but I want to make sure we get this. How does somebody, if somebody wants to become a peer support specialist, where do they go? What do they do?
If you search Utah Certified Peer Support Certification, it'll come up on the website, or they can just go on my website, and there's a link on there. It'll take it right to it. Or they can just contact me. I get people, probably 5 or 6 a day, calling, saying, what do I do? Where do I start? And so I just email them the application. I help them walk through. Because they got to get the application. They got to write the recovery story. And they need to get 2 letters of reference, one from some kind of professional, preferably a clinician or somebody, that says, you know, they got a good story and then do think they'd be a good fit for the program. Once they do all that, they send it back to the state, and the state approves them, and then they forward it to somebody like me, a trainer.
So if you Googled something like Utah Peer Support or something, you get a list of things like that where people can go to.
Yeah, just Google Utah Peer Support. Our website will come up. The state's website is the Office of Substance Use and Mental Health.
Right.
But if you just Google Utah Peer Support Certification, it'll be the top search you run right into.
It's my thinking that it's great to have a peer support person there working with somebody who is working on their own recovery, but I would guess that working as a peer support specialist is also very beneficial to the person who is the peer support specialist.
I think that's probably the only reason I'm sitting in this room today. Right?
Really?
Is because of me being able to give back. Because I get as much from the peers I work with as they do. Probably maybe even more than they get from me. I don't know. Maybe that's being humble. But, yeah, it's a give and take thing. It's the 12 steps kind of practice the same model. They're always talking about giving back, right? It's kind of the same thing.
It strikes me that, and I think it's fair to say that anybody addicted to anything, any substance like that, is extremely selfish because you care mostly about yourself and how you can get instant gratification that you're looking for, and like in a 12-step program or like working in a treatment facility or being a peer support person, you're getting out of your own head because you're thinking about someone else. And that's the beauty of it, right?
Yeah. I think the selfishness comes because it's not that I'm really being selfish, but it's that I need that fix first. I don't care if I got to burn you.
Oh, yeah, but that is being selfish.
It's very selfish, right? But it's not.
And you're not thinking about the damage you're causing to others.
Yeah, you don't even, it doesn't even faze you. Yeah. The things we tell ourselves, right, to keep going in that cyclist, it's horrible. But that's the beauty about peer support. I can go in and just tell me, you know what, are you kidding me? I used to use that same excuse for 20 years, so yeah, I'm not really buying it.
Well, telling people in recovery, telling people in recovery that they're not unique in what they're thinking, like, no, we've all done that, and they're like, really? Yeah, no, we've all done that.
And your thoughts when you were in your heavy drinking days weren't about your kids, right?
I like to think that they were, but
Well, come on.
I was trying to escape life for most of it. So
And the first thought was to drink as opposed to how that will affect my kids,
yes,
right?
absolutely. I wanted to not feel, and then I wanted to see my kids, and I couldn't see my kids, but I wanted to not feel first.
Yeah. And if that means you don't go to the soccer game because I got to go to the liquor store first. that's the way it works.
That's how it is.
It's just part of life.
Did you make it to the soccer games or were you drunk?
From my viewpoint, my daughter's a lacrosse player. I went to so many games. I was never intoxicated at her games. I think I only missed towards the end 4 games.
Really?
Nice.
Way to go.
I just left the game and binge drank at home. Obviously, I had to catch up, but that was like the only thing I was really good at, was going to her lacrosse games. She doesn't remember it like that though.
That's just
that. But
and see, I did the 10 o'clock news every night and I was sober. But it was as soon as I got done with that, it was like, it's time to drink.
Yeah.
And I have plenty of time till I have to be at work the next day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem to affect my job. It probably affected my wife at the time because I'd get home and say, hi, honey, and then start drinking. So that's, well, and is this a full-time job for you?
yeah, it's actually, I work for the USU Certified Peer Support Training Program, doing their trainings, and then now I do this. I also got a handyman business that I run, and so I'm quite busy.
So you're a busy guy.
Yeah.
And well, you've 4,000 peer, I mean, that's that you've trained.
Yeah.
And there are other peer support training sessions, right?
Yeah, there's other programs out there. USAR does it. The Teen Behavioral Health has theirs. I trained Davis Behavioral Health, so they got their program. I trained the trainers down in Southwest Behavioral Health Center, so they got a program down there too.
I think Odyssey's going to have a peer support training program at some point.
Hopefully.
Right.
I know we're hosting, right?
You definitely are hosting it. Just my last training was out at your campus on 62 in Redwood.
Oh, okay.
It's a really nice location. It was so much better because I can only fit like 15 in my location. And it's too small to train because everybody, a lot of people want to get in my trainings.
That's all I hear with I work with the Jets, which are like a group of clients in Odyssey all the time. Like, how can I get my CPSS? Like, it's all they want to do is give back.
Well, we are out of time. Okay. Sorry to interrupt what you were going to say, but thank you for all the good work you do. Because it makes it. I started out this podcast saying that those 2 words are so important in any successful treatment program, and they are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And they're there in part because of you, so thank you. Brian Nielsen, our guest today. Thank you, Nicole, for being here.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.